Good afternoon, everyone. This is Gavaskar Reed from the New York City Department of Education. We would like to welcome you, to all of the work-based learning coordinators, administrators, educators on our call today. Today, we are going to be talking about the MTA New York City Transit Electrical Helper Examination. We are going to be discussing how to get through the application, and hopefully we get many of your qualified students and candidates to sign up. I just want to thank the folks from MTA New York City Transit because we've had such a long, rich, rigorous, productive partnership. So really want to thank you all for the time that you give to us. And we want to thank you for providing these employment opportunities for our young people that want to get into the skilled trades. Without further ado, I want to turn it over to one of my favorite industry partners. It's no coincidence that we're talking about the Transit Electrical Helper Examination today because we have the electrifying Debbie O'Connor who will be speaking to us and sharing relevant content with us. So without further ado, take it away, Debbie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gav. Thanks for putting a smile on my face. But I'm really excited to be spending the next hour with this wonderful group of dedicated educators and my transit colleagues to help you to understand the application process for what we believe is an excellent entry career opportunity that exists at the MTA in the New York City Transit Department of Subways. You've helped. I completed 8 years with the MTA, and so many of you have been really great champions of the MTA, and you work so diligently to share these opportunities with your students. I just would like to thank you for all that you do for the young people of this city. So we do want to cover a good amount of information. We hope that you will ask questions throughout the presentation. My colleagues and I will be stopping, as we communicate the information to ask if there are any questions. This is not an intuitive process if you're not accustomed to doing it often. So we thought the best way to start would be to train the educators. And then if there are challenges, if students still have difficulty applying, they can contact me directly. I will put my contact information in the chat, and then I can set up maybe another Zoom meeting for them before the filing closes. The filing will close at midnight on April 15th. However, we never want to wait until the last day of the filing to file an application, right? Because of all glitches that can occur. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my two MTA colleagues who will help with the presentation today. Jennifer Garcia. Jennifer, just give a little wave. Hi. Jennifer Garcia is the manager of MTA Examinations Administration. She is an amazing professional who works tirelessly to get this exam process up and running. Many weekends working for us, and I've just been so blessed to have wonderful partners like Jennifer and Sam Merzel, who is a manager examination developer. So they are going to help me today and walk through the most difficult parts of this presentation because they are the experts. So I'd like to start by sharing with you how you find the application. Remember, years ago, we came into the classroom, we brought the paper applications. You were kind enough to let us in. The students sat there, they filled it out, whether they wanted to or not. And it was a great exercise, I think, for them, because at some point they might want to take a civil service exam. Collected the applications, got the fee waivers notarized, came back to the ranch and handed them in. We can no longer do that, all right? It's 21st century, everything must be done online. So I'm going to show you now, if I can navigate Zoom, because I'm so used to Teams, how to find the application. So first I have to share my screen, right? So share the screen. Let's see if I'm sharing the screen. Do you all see the lady running on the water?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're going to go to Google and we're going to type in the URL for the MTA website, the homepage. It's new.mta.info. Okay, is everybody, yes?
Debbie, do you mean to share your Chrome window as well? We only see your desktop right now.
Okay, hold on, let me move this over. Okay, thank you, Gav,
Yep,
thank you.
there you go. Yep,
Okay,
that's it.
so I'm gonna do that again, new.mta.info, okay? And this is the MTA homepage. You select the menu bar at the top. You scroll down to careers. And then we see the three very happy, one's cut off, bus operators, MTA Career Center. We scroll down below the group photo to the section that says jobs that require exams. And I don't know, it's not easy to see. It's in blue and it looks like a hyperlink. It is a hyperlink, but it's not that clear to see. But you need to please click on find out more about upcoming exams, exam schedule for NTA jobs. Scroll down until you see transit electrical helper, open competitive examination. And we click on, oh, by the way, it says application period, March 3rd through April 15th. And we scroll down and we click on notice of examination. Before I go to the notice of examination, does anybody have questions about that path? Okay, then I'll assume it's clear. So we're going to go to the notice of examination. I'm just going to review a few key areas in the notice of examination for you. I'm not going to review this whole page, but what I do want to point out to you is that the notice of examination came out with qualifications that would have disqualified your June graduating classes. So we changed it to qualify for this title. The applicants must have met the qualifications by June 30th, not by the end of the filing period, not by April 15th, even though the NOE is still, even though the amended notice of examination is still not visible on this website. That should not discourage anyone from applying, okay? The qualifications need to be met by June 30th, 2023. So all of your seniors in electrical installation programs and your alumni who graduated, whenever, doesn't matter, they could be out, number of years, they qualify as long as they have graduated by June 30th of this year, okay? And that will eventually show up in the formal document. Okay, I'm going to skip the next part. I'm going to bring you to the first page of the notice of examination, what we call an NOE. We're going to please stress to you, to stress to the students that they should print this out or save it on their desktop. They don't have to print it, but save the document to their desktop so that they have the name of the test, the exam number, and all the salient information that they need. Okay, they must keep this document. It's a smart thing to do. And we know that it is an open competitive exam for New York City Transit electrical helper. The exam number is 3625. The application deadline is April 15th. It is a multiple choice test. The application fee, which is going to be waived for any applicant from a vocational high school, CTE in New York City, BOCES in Nassau County, I hope Amy Bellafieri is on the call, or Lincoln Technical Institute. If anyone is not working full-time while they're in the Lincoln Tech program, they qualify for the fee waiver that we are going to grant to your students. Okay, so they save $68. All right. And the test dates are Saturday, July 1st or Sunday, July 2nd. The only way to get a different test date is for religious purposes. If you have to go to your cousin's wedding, that's not an accommodation, all right? Am I correct about that, Jennifer?
Yes, Debbie.
Okay.
Correct.
So if you worship on a Saturday, we'll show you the special accommodation section. If you worship on a Sunday, we'll show you the special accommodations. You can ask for the day that you don't, that is not your Sabbath, all right, or your worship day. That is the only way you can get a different test date, okay? All right, let's just quickly look at the job description. Transit electrical help. This is the entry title. There are just a few entry titles at the MTA for vocational high school graduates. 2 in buses, 1 in transit, and then of course we have the transit electrical apprenticeship program. But right now we're focusing on exam filing. So this is the only exam filing that will be available for your students who graduate by June 30th this year. Maybe toward later in the year, another filing will come out, but this is it for your students who are graduating in June or who have already graduated. Transit electrical helpers under direct supervision assist the maintainers and supervisors in the installation, maintenance, testing, and repair of electrical, electromechanical, and electronic equipment in various MTA New York City transit departments. They operate a motor vehicle, therefore they will need a license. They need a driver's license, not the CDL. We will help them to get the CDL license, but they must have a driver's license by the time they are appointed, not by the exam filing date of April 15th. I want to make that clear. By the time you take the test, which is July, by the time the test is scored and the list is established and verified by DCAS, we're looking at 12 months from July. So they have time to get their license. Is there any question about that qualification? Okay, they operate a motor vehicle, to and from work assignments, keep records, write reports, perform related work. All right, they can be assigned to many areas. They can be assigned to signal maintenance, lighting maintenance, electronic equipment maintenance, elevator and escalator maintenance. They can be assigned to ventilation and drainage maintenance. They can be assigned to power distribution, electrical power maintenance, power's third rail, electrical power maintenance, and telephone maintenance, all right? And then for people who have enough experience or education, they can also come in as a signal maintainer trainee. That will be determined by the team that evaluates the applications. Okay, so any questions about the role? All right, and I'll just take you now to the salary and benefits portion of the NOE. Number 2, please. The current minimum salary for transit electrical helper in most divisions, you're paid a little bit more if you're in electrical power. And if you're a if you come in as a signal maintainer trainee, you're paid more. But for the general title, it's $23.57 an hour for a 40-hour work week. It increases to $33.68 in the 6th year. But your students are so well educated, they're not going to be a TEH for 6 years. By the way, you can be a TEH forever. Some people don't want to move up, but your students are going to advance to maintainer quickly. All right, so that equates to, if you do the math, 40-hour work week, we're looking at about 42,000. I wrote it down. It's like 42,000 and change a year. 42,897 is the annual salary, plus a full benefits package of transportation pass, so they will ride the system for free. And currently the union is offering their employees $4,000 a year for college tuition. That is subject to change. $4,000 a year for college tuition. That is subject to change. Okay. Any questions about the comp or the benefits? Oh, paid vacation, paid sick time is included. Okay. I'm not going to go over the next session too much because one of my colleagues will do that again. But again, this is not the updated notice of examination. You see where it says here, by the last day of the application period, you must meet the following requirements. No, this is being amended to include all of your students who will graduate June 30th of this year. Eventually, probably next week, the updated NOE will be on the site, but that does not stop anybody from applying. They should just go ahead and apply anyway, okay? And your students qualify if it's Lincoln Tech students, graduation from a trade school with a major course of study in electrical, electronic, or electromechanical technology, or a closely related field for 600 hours. And of course, our high school partners, graduation from a vocational high school with a major course of study in electrical, electronic, or electromechanic technology, or a closely related field. Okay, I'm going to move quickly to page 10 to just go over the appointments to be, the requirements to be appointed. So the requirements to apply and the requirements to be appointed tend to be different, okay? Different timing, really. So requirements to be appointed, they must pass, oh, it says it right here, Sam, I'm sorry. Let's see. Oh, FYI, MTA and New York City no longer require a vaccine mandate. That was put into place as of Monday, March 13th. So this vaccine requirement is not accurate. A vaccine is not required any longer to work at the transit authority. A driver's license will be required on the day they are appointed, not at the time of the application. They'll have to pass a medical exam and a drug test. And it doesn't matter that certain drugs are legal. If you want to work at the MTA, please impress upon the students that they cannot be under the influence of any recreational drugs or alcohol, because the first priority of the MTA is safety, safety for our employees, and safety for the passengers. Okay. All right. So any questions about the information that I covered? Okay, and I'm going to just, at this moment, I will put my email address in the chat. And for you folks, I'm also going to put my direct cell phone number in the chat, not for the students, please. They can email me. I'm kind of in between. I'm working out of 2 offices for the next few months. So calling me at a desk phone probably doesn't work. So if you need or have any questions or need to be in touch with me, again, before April 15th, because that's when the filing ends, that's my email address. Gav also has it, and that's the best phone number to reach me. The students can have my email address, okay? All right, thank you, everyone. So now I'm going to close this out because my colleague Jennifer Garcia will take over, and she's going to speak from a PowerPoint presentation. That's correct, Jennifer, yes? Okay, so I'll close out of this. I have to stop sharing my screen. There you go.
Thank you, Debbie. And thank you, Gav, for the amazing comments. Let me see. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through the application process, how to submit the application. I want to go back to the website one more time before I go to the actual presentation. So we are here, Transit Electrical Helper, and as Debbie indicated, you know, it is important that the students read the notice of exams and keep a copy of these documents. There is a cover page here that includes the links to complete the application and another link to complete the education experience form. Just give me 1 second. I'm going back to the presentation. I hope everyone see the screen page for the PowerPoint presentation, correct?
We're still seeing the examination.
The page, right?
Yes.
He's doing it again, Gab, at the wrong moment. How about there?
No.
Same thing.
Okay, I think I got it now. How about there?
Nope, same
Nope.
thing. Oh, there it is.
Jennifer, we got
there
There
it
it
is.
is. I got
Yep.
it. I was having the same problem. Okay, I'm sorry, everyone. So we have, okay, so basically these are the steps that they need to follow to submit the application. First, read the notice of exam. Then you're going to complete the online application. Now, the online application, I'm going to go through it and I'm going to submit an application for them, for you. From the cover page, we have the link that is going to take them to the exam application. And we have also the link that is going to take them to the education and experience form. Then we are going to speak about submitting the fee waiver form. So we are going to go back to the cover page. We prepared this presentation, and Gab have a copy of this. If you need it, you know, he can be free to share this with everyone. So I would like to go back to the actual website and go.
Yeah, because Jennifer's going to do it live now from the website, folks. Yep.
Correct. Thank you, Debbie. All right. So this is the website. Do you see it?
No.
No, we see your desktop.
Don't worry, I'm learning. I'm learning. How about now?
We see the
Yes.
examination page.
There?
It says
Jennifer, are
exam.
you trying to pull up the NOE from the career page to show
Yes,
them?
I want to
Okay.
show them how to get to the exam applications from the cover page or the NOE.
Okay,
So-
so you have to go to the new.mta.info.
Yeah,
And-
I'm here.
Oh, good.
Here.
Okay, okay.
Do you see the screen with the cover page?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we have two options, right? The cover page was created to facilitate the access to the education and experience form, which is through an MS form. And my colleague Sam is going to explain how to get there. But first, the first step is to complete the exam application, right? So they have to copy this link and open a new tab, right? And this is how it's going to look. Why we suggest that they open a new tab on the same browser. And by the way, we suggest that they use Edge, Firefox, or Google Chrome, because they need to go back to the NOE, and this is the easier way for them to do it, to complete the education and experience form. So they copy this link on a new tab on the same browser, and they are going to see here the exams, the list of exams that are open for filing: Transit Electrical Helper and 2 other exams. So in this case, they are going to have access to the notice of exam one more time. They click here and they're going to see again the NOE or notice of exam, and the exam number and the fee, which doesn't qualify to them. And they click apply. Here on this page, they have to register. Register if this is the first time that they are submitting the application. They register for the application.
And see, may I just say that I don't know if that's very clear, because I would have started trying to create a login and an ID. So they must register first. Okay, you have to use the registration prompt to start the process.
Yes. Maybe in the future we can just highlight this in here and make it bigger, but they do have to register if this is the first time. So it's very easy for them. This is what is going to take more time, just adding their information, their emails, their phone numbers. And it's very important that their information is accurate because they are going to be contacted for the exams and employment via email. So it's very important that they keep their information updated. But we are going to walk you through the process. I'm going to apply for the exam basically. So I'm going to create any username. There's no specific criteria. You don't have to have any special characters. So I'm going to say any password. Just type your name, last name. Your phone number. How they prefer to be contacted. I would say email. The address. Apartment number. The city. The state. I'm sorry, 01. And they agree on the terms of the application. So they have to read this information here, saying that they are sharing their personal information. So once they agree with this, they register. So it's not complicated, nothing special. The system is pretty easy. Just register. Well, it's not that easy now because it's telling me that it exists. Register. Now, it's very important that the students remember their username and password, and I'm going to explain why. If they apply for any other exams in the future, their social security number is going to be attached to this information, and they will need to access the system using this username and password. Okay. Let me see. I did this like 5 times before today. Okay. And I think we got it. So it's going to take the students, once they register, to this page where they're going to see again the same list of exams. They just click apply. Once they click apply, they're going to have the opportunity to review the information, their name, the last name, and they need to type their social security number. Say okay. They need to re-enter the social security number. This is optional. And they should verify their address is correct, the apartment number, their email, their phone number. After they verify everything is correct, they click continue. Date of birth. I'm going to make myself younger. Here, they just agree with these terms, or related with privacy because their social security number was provided. Okay, here, they can also access the notice of exams, save a copy. This is a PDF, the same PDF of the notice of exams. They acknowledge that they have read the notice of exams and click next. again, if I'm going too quick, I'm sorry. I created the presentation and it has all the steps one by one. So if they do required, the NOE includes a copy of the special circumstances guide in case they need to request, you know, special accommodations or religious observance. They just click here. In case they do want to request that, they have to submit documentation, and I'm going to provide you with the email address that they should use to request these special circumstances. If they
Jennifer, if I may, the special accommodation would be for anyone who, due to a disability, might need more time for the test, might need somebody to read the questions for them. Is that what the special accommodation section is for?
That is correct.
Okay, so
Thank
if
you,
anyone
Debbie.
has a learning disability, they're going to need to submit their IEP.
Yes.
But that we do offer special accommodation for test takers who have a verified disability. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Debbie. And they click next. Okay, so now before submitting the application, you have your credit card or debit card. That doesn't apply to them because they are going to be completing a fee waiver form that is going to be provided to you. They just confirm by checking these box. I confirm that all the statements that I have provided in connection with the application for this examination are all correct, and they submit the application. So this is just to submit this is the first step, submit the application. I'm going to submit the application. I have like 3 in the system already. So this doesn't apply. They do not have to pay for the application. They just confirm again, and they are gonna get this confirmation number, and we strongly suggest that they make a note of this confirmation number just for future reference. Let's say that they are not invited to the test and they need to contact us. We are going to verify first that we received that fee waiver form in this case, and second, the confirmation number. And for future reference, if they apply for any other exams in transit, it's good to make a note of that confirmation number, especially when they pay for the test. So in this case, we just they can print this for the records or just finish. They finished. There's nothing here that to continue with the application process because they don't need to make a payment for the exam. So that's it. They don't need to go back. They just close this browser here. They close. So let me go back to my PowerPoint again. Let's make sure that we have everything. Any questions so far? Okay. So after they complete the application that they submitted, they are going to be completing the education and experience form, and Sam is going to explain that in a few seconds. Before that, I would like to just mention that, let me go back to the right slide. This is the way the fee waiver form looks like. Debbie is going to be emailing this to the coordinators. She's coordinating this, and she's going to speak about this. And before
you're not showing the. I'm not seeing the fee waiver.
I don't see the fee waiver form, Jennifer.
Okay, give me 1 second, please. I'm sorry about that. Zoom. Let me go back. Okay, I know what happened. Thank you, Sam and Debbie. There you go.
Okay, great. Can you make it a little larger, Jennifer? Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the fee waiver form, and Debbie, I'm going to come back to this slide so you explain everything. Before that, this is the reason why we would like them to save their username and password, because if they are returning back to the page, they are going to be able to update the contact information in case their address changes or their email, and also they may contact us if they want to, they have issues applying online, or if they would like to change their contact information. So I'm also providing you with our email address and the email address that they can use to request Sabbath observers request and special accommodations. This is the address here. So Debbie, I'm going to pass the presentation to you. So you talked that you talk about the fee waiver form before we pass it on to Sam. Any
Okay.
questions, everybody? Everything's good?
By the way, the email addresses that Jennifer just showed you, they are embedded in the application itself. In the notice of examination, you will find exams unit at nyct.com, and you will find exams makeup at nyct.com. Now, Jennifer, can we go back to that form? Okay, so as in the past, each applicant, every student needs this letter printed out on official school stationery, all right, with all of this information, name, signature, the date, the social security number, the applicant's telephone number, the applicant's email address, the applicant's full mailing address, and this is not a fillable form type in, so it must be legible, all right, because the examinations team is going to have to match these letters to the online applications. So if we can't read the information, there's a very finite group of people in the exams team. They can't stop, call somebody, hello, is this Gary or are you Sam? You know what I mean? So we can't make out your email address. Yes, it will also be in the application online, but I'm just trying to get across that it's very legible. So we're going to ask you to instruct the students to come to your office, sign the letter, fill it out because it has to be on school stationery. And then Jennifer, I'm sorry because we've discussed this 14 times and my notes aren't clear. So we're going to ask all the students to fill this out, sign it, submit it to their career offices or their work-based learning coordinators. And then how do you want the work-based learning coordinators and career offices to get this to you? Is it mail in or scan and email? Which would you prefer?
I think it's easier for the coordinators just to collect everything and send it to us in the mail.
Regular US Post Office mail.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
All
And
right, work-based learning coordinators, everybody on this call, career advisors, we're going to ask you to collect these letters from your students who apply and then mail them, regular US mail, to the transit authority. And Jennifer, are you able to pull up your address again,
yes.
please? So it had the envelope has to say, attention Jennifer Garcia, New York City Transit, Examination Administration Unit, 180 Livingston Street, room 4070, Brooklyn, New York. And if you're sending it overnight mail, you know those envelopes require a phone number. May I suggest that you put your phone number on there? So if there's a problem with delivery, the carrier can call you, and then you all could call me, and we see what we could do to, oh, good, Jennifer's gonna put her, oh, Jennifer, you're gonna put your number there? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so then scratch that. I'm sorry, folks. Just put Jennifer's phone number on the label as well. And clearly you'll keep a copy of the receipt so that you can track the package. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gab.
And again, we are going to be sharing this updated presentation slides with Gab. In case you need that information, just ask for it. Any questions? So we are passing the presentation to our colleague, Sam. He's going to go over the education and experience form.
Which is the final portion of the application. So it's 3 portions. It's the application, it's the education and experience test paper, which Sam Merzel is going to review now, and it is the fee waiver letter. I'll put that in the chat. Okay, folks?
So Jen or Debbie, can either of you email me the fee waiver form? I didn't see it as a part of the presentation that I got.
Okay, we'll send that to you, Gav, sure. Okay, Sam?
Hey, everyone. I just want to confirm, am I sharing my screen right now? You guys can see the
Yes.
notice of examination?
Yes, yes.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for all that information, Debbie and Jen, that you provided. I may say some things that may be redundant, but I really want to drill home some of the points that both Jenny and Debbie made, because I do think they are very important. On my agenda today, what I'm hoping to go over is a little more detail on this notice of examination, or NOE. We'll go over a few more key sections that Debbie maybe touched upon or didn't cover. And then I finally want to close with the education and experience test paper, and go over what that will look like, so you'll be able to answer any questions for your students if that comes up. So my starting point is the notice of examination. I just want to confirm, does everyone know how to obtain this from the website based on everything that they've learned so far? Because this is a key document that really is a one-stop shop for everything that was covered up until now, and almost everything that I'll cover for the rest of this presentation. Any questions that you have, and we're happy to answer them directly, but this 21-page document, where only 13 of those pages are actually the notice of exam, the other remaining documents are, I call them appendices, where they may be additional documents that you may reference. You can really find any answer to any question that you have about the application process, the examination process, what to expect on the day of the exam, what you can expect after your students have taken the exam, what they need at time of when they do get appointed, and so on. So if you can access this document, and we will be sharing it, and also, and I know Debbie mentioned it, but it will be updated to reflect some changes that we discussed. So while we're happy to share the document as it looks today, and we still encourage everyone to apply regardless of what the qualifications read on the document, they will be updated hopefully in a week from now. So I just want to make sure everyone remembers how to get to it from the application. So I'm just going to go back to the application quickly. So when you land on this page of the application, if you click on any of these hyperlinks, so these are our open exams, if you click on the Transit Electrical Helper hyperlink here, not apply, but you click on the actual hyperlink, it'll open up for you the notice of examination. So it's kind of a loop, because you can get to the application through the notice of exam, and you can get to the notice of exam from the application page. So always know you can get from one to the other if need be. So this very first page on the NOE, or notice of exam, is the cover page. This cover page really is kind of a summary of a lot of the important pieces of information. So the very first part is it's going to tell you that it's important that you read the whole thing in its entirety, and that it's really a one-stop shop of finding everything. What Debbie and Jen went over, and what I'll go over, is really should be thought of as a kind of a three-step process. The first step in the process is filling out the application. The second step of the process is going to be filling out the education experience test paper form, which we'll discuss later. And the final step is the fee waiver document that Jen just covered. So just to go over some more key parts of the notice of exam, Debbie went over all this. The application deadline, very important, is April 15th. These are the test dates as they stand. You can always look here to see what type of test it is. So for Transit Electrical Helper, it's a multiple choice test, and we will go over the types of test questions that your students can anticipate. The job description, which Debbie went over, that's a good chunk of it. The salary and benefits we covered already. So I want to jump to the how to qualify section. This is a super important section for you and your students. I'm going to go over all of them, even though really only 2 and 3 probably apply to your current students, but I do imagine you guys have other networks, and you have graduates and alumni who, well, I guess if they're graduates, they probably also qualify through number 2 or number 3. But we'll just go over all of them. Again, to reiterate, this is not accurate as you see it right here. The experience requirements are only required by the application period. The education can be obtained up to June 30th, 2023. So that's, if you leave here today with anything, I hope you leave here with that. So there are 4 ways that somebody can qualify for this position. The very first way is by having 2 years of full-time satisfactory experience as a helper in the electrical, electronic, or electromechanical fields in the maintenance, repair, testing, construction, or installation of electrical equipment. You can qualify by being a helper, and even more so if you're performing this work as a journey level maintainer doing any of this. So helper is the lowest level, but obviously if you have this experience at a fully proficient level, you also would qualify. So that's the first way somebody could qualify, through the 2 years of full-time satisfactory experience. I believe number 2 is only speaking to Lincoln Tech, who is here today, but would be graduation from a trade school or technical school with a major course of study in electrical, electronic, or electromechanical technology or closely related field. So like HVAC would qualify for that, or if the coursework is called electrical theory and not electrical exactly. So things that are related. If anybody has any specific examples, I don't know if I'll be able to answer on the spot whether they'd be qualifying, but anything that is dealing with primarily electrical technology, electronics, electromechanical technology, automotive technology would be another example that would qualify. That would fall into the closely related field. And it's important that their major course of study total at least 600 hours. So that would be number 2. That would be the second way that somebody could qualify for this position. The third one would speak to our CTE schools here today. And that's graduation from vocational high school with a major course of study in electrical, electronic, or electromechanical technology or closely related field. Those same closely related fields that I previously mentioned would apply to this also. There's no number of hours that are required for it's just graduation. That is the extent of it. This doesn't really pertain to, I'll just cover the last one, I'll make this note, and then, or an associate's degree or higher degree in electrical, electronic, or electromechanical technology or closely related field from accredited college or university. So 4 ways: through experience, having 2 years of helper experience performing electrical or electronic or electromechanical type work; graduation from trade school or technical school; graduation from vocational high school; or graduation from having an associate's degree or a baccalaureate degree, or even higher. And again, this does not apply to you, but just in case you guys are working with other peers in your world, for any of these, for the graduation, if somebody obtained their degree outside of the United States, they will have to submit a foreign evaluation, a document that evaluates their foreign education, just saying that their education is equivalent to what it tells us what their degree is equivalent to in United States language. So they're approved vendors, and that would be found at the back in the notice of exam, but that shouldn't really apply for any of you or your students. Qualifying experience also qualifies. So if you require the 2 years, if you have 5 years working only 25 hours a week, you'd qualify. So people shouldn't be deterred just because they don't have full-time experience. Here's that note about the foreign education. More about that. The next section I'm going to talk about is selective certifications. I will open with selective certificate. Well, I'll explain what they are first, and then I'll make my note. Selective certifications, the way they work is typically candidates will take a civil service test. Those who pass the civil service test will be placed on a hiring list in score order. So individuals who score higher typically get called off of the list as vacancies arise earlier than those who perform more poorly. The exception being is if you have something called a selective certification, and these certifications are specific to the job title. Transit electrical helper has a good chunk of them. Basically, if your students have any of these experiences or their education is within these specific realms, they could be put on what's called, we call it kind of a sub list, where let's say a department was looking for people specifically, the very first one is with mass transportation, working within the mass transportation industry. So this one wouldn't really apply to your students, but if somebody had work experience working for Amtrak, and it was really important for a specific department to hire people quickly with this specific experience, even though they may not be at the very top of the list, they can call, we create sub lists of people with these selective certifications, and you could be called off of the list earlier because you possess this. So we'll possess these. Having said that, for a list like transit electrical helper, where we are always hiring helpers, and it's important for you guys to know that it's a really important title to us, and one that we can't fill our vacancies fast enough. It's like whack-a-mole, where we'll give an exam, and then we'll get 700 candidates from that exam, and then within 6 months we've exhausted the source of the transit electrical helpers. So we're always looking to hire more. Because the lists are exhausted so quickly, we rarely even get the opportunity to even consider selective certifications, because it goes from that very first person on the list being hired to the very last person within a span of a few months sometimes. So we'll go over them, because maybe that's our situation today, but it's just important for you guys to know about them for the future. And also we do ask about them on the education and experience test paper. So this way you'll be able to kind of explain to your students what we're asking here, what is this all about. So each one of these numbers is a different selective certification. And within each one, there's A and B. A being that you can accomplish the certification through education, or you can accomplish it through experience. So I'm not going to read them verbatim, but the basic premise is that in addition to meeting the minimum qualifications that we listed earlier, so let's say you've graduated from a trade school with 600 hours of course credits in electrical theory. In addition to that, if you have experience of, I think it's at least 6 months experience working in a mass transportation industry, you can then be put on one of these sublists and potentially be called earlier. Same thing here. If your schooling was, and I don't know if this exists, but it was specifically electrical theory within mass transportation, by simply having that degree, you would be put on, you can select that you have this or that you will have this. And a cool thing about selective certs is that you can obtain it anytime before the list expires. So you don't have to have it on the very first day or when you're filling out the application. You can be number 600 on the list, and then one of the selective, the next one is having a commercial driver's license, having a CDL. If you apply for the exam, you don't have any of these selective certs, you qualify, you take the test, the list is even established, and then you go out and obtain your CDL, you can contact the exams unit, and we'll send that to the Department of Citywide Administrative Services, DCAS, who manages the list. And we'll tell them, hey, we have another candidate who actually has a CDL. We want to add them to the selective cert list. And then if down the road, the department specifically needs transit electrical helpers who have CDLs, they would go to you and pull those candidates first, even though they may not have scored as strongly as other candidates. So that's another note you should just think about with selective certs, that you don't need to have them only at the time of application. We ask you about it now because most likely now is when you would have it, but you can tell us anytime before the list expires that you've obtained any of these selective certifications. So we've gone through mass transportation industry. The next one is having one of these CDLs. The next one is if you have any experience or education in electronics specifically. So if your students graduated in a course, in coursework heavily focused on electronics, they would qualify. The next one is same thing, but with electrical maintenance. If they have work experience 6 months, or their graduation is in coursework that's heavy in electrical maintenance, they would qualify. HVAC, we mentioned, same thing. And finally, automotive maintenance. So if they have the coursework and their specialization was in automotive maintenance, they can indicate that on the education experience test paper, which we'll go over, and they can say that they have that education. The next section that I want to go to is the very next section in the notice of exam. And just so you guys understand the outline of the notice of exam, it's in the order of the candidate lifespan. So the very first part is, tells you what the job is. It gives you a job description. The next part is, well, how do I qualify for this exam? So it gives you, these are the types of people who would qualify for the exam. Go into the selective certifications. These are some extra qualifications that you could have. Well, sorry, it doesn't exactly go in the order of it, but it goes over to the test, which the importance of the test and why it talks about it now is because we're going to go over the types of questions that you can anticipate. So on every notice of exam, you'll see a few things in the test section. The first thing is saying, what is the minimum passing score? So it's telling us our candidates need to have at least a score of 70% to pass this test. Anybody who scores below 70% will not be on the civil service list. Anybody who scores 70% or higher will be put on the list in score order. It goes over some information about veterans or disabled veterans credits, if any of your students or alumni have. were served in the armed forces or were disabled in the armed forces, they can receive additional credits. They have to still pass the exam for those credits to be counted. So they can't score a 65 and then get their 7 points for disabled veterans credits to push them up to 72. They would have to first meet that minimum 70, and then they can apply their credits. I believe also anytime until the list is exhausted or expires, and they can apply their credits to bump them up higher on the list. Again, I wouldn't recommend it for this test because I think it's a one-shot thing. They only have those credits to be applied once. So if they're taking multiple tests in the future, I would not use it for TEH because if they make it to the list, they will be hired in a somewhat quick manner, and that list will eventually be expired. Sorry, exhausted, not expired. And finally, in the test section, it tells us, well, the multiple choice test may include questions that require the use of any of the following abilities. So abilities is a key word here. When we are developing a civil service test, there are two types of questions that a test may have on them, either knowledge areas or abilities. This test is an abilities-based test only. There are no knowledge areas that we are testing for. This is not a test on their electrical knowledge. We're not asking them questions about Ohm's law. If there are questions about those types of things, we provide them with all of the information that they need to answer the question. So we may provide them with the formula for Ohm's law and then give them numbers that they have to input. There's no prior knowledge that is needed to perform on this exam. It is a abilities-based test. It's like a light SAT where they are answering questions based on reading passages and applying information that they read in the passages to the question, maybe some basic mathematical questions. We'll go over each one of these, I'll give you a brief explanation, but just so you see the outline, it's the name of the knowledge, skill, or ability. So in this case, an ability that we're testing for. Written comprehension is the first one. A definition, what is written comprehension? Well, it's the ability to understand written sentences or paragraphs. We're going to be testing them on their ability to read and understand written sentences and paragraphs. And then we have an example of how will this ability be used on the job itself. So it's not necessarily an example of how they may be tested on it, but it's, well, what does this have to do with transit electrical helper? Here's an example of how you might apply this on the job. So it's understanding written bulletins released by MTA, New York City Transit. That's why it's important that we test you for this, because you may have to do these types of things on the job itself. The next one is written expression. So here we're not going to actually ask them questions that make them write anything. The way we test for this is we may give them a few sentences and tell them to put them in the order that makes the most sense for it to come out as a nice written statement. We might give them a few passages and have them tell us what's wrong with the passages. Deductive reasoning, the ability to apply general rules to specific problems that come up with logical answers. It involves deciding if an answer makes sense. So for this, we may give them a rule, a real New York City Transit policy, and then give them a situation, say, okay, you've read this policy, here's the situation. How would you apply that policy to this? What is the correct thing to do in this situation? Inductive reasoning, the ability to combine separate pieces of information or specific answers to problems to form general rules or conclusions. It includes coming up with a logical explanation for why a series of unrelated events occur together. I do see we're already over time.
Yeah.
Do I need to expedite anything? Should I jump to anything critical, or do people have time?
Gab, what do you
We
think?
have time. We have time. You can continue.
Okay,
Sam.
I'll continue.
Sam, I would just say that after you review the test, if you could move right to the EETP, that would
Sure.
be great, okay?
Sure. Information order. So inductive reasoning, sorry, that's where we'll maybe give you two pieces of information, a passage that describes one rule and another passage that describes another rule. And they might have to apply both of those rules at the same time, keeping two different pieces of information in mind. Information ordering, that's where we'll give you a long series of a process, a rule, a procedure, and ask candidates, okay, you've done this part of the procedure. What's the next part of the procedure that you're going to perform? Number facility, that's really just basic mathematics. Mechanical aptitude, so we say here the ability to understand and apply mechanical concepts and principles to solve problems. It's not really, we wouldn't test for it in a knowledge way. We wouldn't require a previous, mechanical knowledge coming into it. But it might be like reading a gauge, reading a meter, presenting them with a situation, where there's mechanical equipment being asked about, but not based on their prior knowledge. But we would give them a gauge and ask them, what is the reading on the gauge and so on. And finally, spatial orientation, and that's really, maybe some map reading abilities, directional abilities, demonstrating their ability to know where they are relative to other things in an area. So we'd show them an image and ask them questions based on, that map or that diagram. And so that does it for the test section. I do want to show you two things quickly. So we have the cover sheet, and I mentioned the notice is really one-stop shop for everything. So on the cover sheet, again, your candidates are going to have to fill out an application, education and experience test paper, and then the fee waiver form that we will send you. The application can be accessed right here. The education experience test paper can be completed right below that. It's super important that they fill out all three of these things. In an application without an education and experience test form, it's useless. It will be marked as an incomplete application, and they won't be moved forward in the process. And and same thing with an education experience test paper without an application, just as useless. We need to have both of those things. And then the fee waiver, if they want to have the fee for this exam waived, they have to absolutely fill that out. In addition to being on the cover page, they're also, both of these things are embedded within the exam. So if you go to the how to submit an application section within the notice of exam, you'll also see the online application. If you click here, it should open up. Let's see. Yeah, so for me, it opens up to this page where I can click here again to get the notice, or I would just go straight to apply. It will get you to the application. And then same thing with the form that we're going to go over now. You can get it on the cover page, or you can access it within the how to submit an application at number 7 over here. Just click on that form, but we'll access it from the cover page. So we're going to, and one also really, really important note, we're the first to admit our website's really buggy, and sometimes you're going to have some problems accessing the application. You might get some error messages. Those error messages may say something about cookies. It may say something about who knows what. Any error message you get, please tell your students, do not be deterred. There are a few workarounds that we found to work. One of them is just Xing out of the dialog box and just clicking on that link a second time, and that generally works. If that doesn't work, another way they can do it is they can highlight the link. Sorry, they can right click on the link. Oop, didn't mean to do that. They can right click on the link, copy the link address, and then paste it into another browser, another text box, and it'll open up. I'm not having problems now. I wish I was, so you could see the problem and then the solution. But just those are two workarounds. One is just go back, try it a second time, or copy and paste the link. Or right click the link and press copy and put it into a new box. So now I'm going to go over the education experience test paper. A lot of you, if you've been with us in the past, you may have seen an evolution to this education and experience test paper. It's in its infancy. It was a paper where we were asking your students to fill out all of your education. If you have any experience, write all the tasks that you perform, and we need percentages next to every task relative to how frequently you were performing them. And a lot of people were getting super confused by it. We were getting a lot of not qualified candidates simply because they really didn't understand how to fill out the education and experience test paper. We then moved towards an online platform, which was very similar to the paper. The only real difference was that it was embedded within the application and they completed it online, but same sort of confusions existed where they didn't know exactly how to fill them out. We've created a new education experience test paper, or EETP for short, and I'll be referring to it as an EETP going forward, where we've made it really simple, in my opinion. And I really think, especially if you guys pay attention here today, that it should be pretty user-friendly, and there isn't much room to get confused or to get lost. But we'll go over it just in case. But where it's more of a pointed question, geared towards pointed questions, and not having the candidates have to enter their own prompts or enter their own experience. It's very pointed questions, as you'll see. So the very first part of it is just an introduction to what this is about. So you see the title is the Transit Electrical Helper Education Experience Test Paper for this specific exam. All this information is just, please read this carefully, understand that, you know, everything has to be verified and they will go through background checks, and they shouldn't lie on this, and it's important to be honest. If they have any questions about the security or privacy of their information they're entering, there's a link here that they can click on to get better understanding of how everything is encrypted. And then we'll jump into the actual education experience test paper. So the first question is, what is your MTA applicant ID number? If you do not know your applicant ID, please enter 0. A lot of your students will not know this because they probably don't have it yet. So as it says, if you don't have an applicant ID, just enter 0. You're going to prompt them to enter 0. What is your full social security number? No dashes, so they should enter their social security number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the example. They shouldn't enter the example. They should enter their real social security number. The next question, and this will hopefully prompt them, again, this part of the application process is going to be after they submit an application. So they've submitted their application, they should have received a confirmation number on the application on this page. So this is just an example. This clearly isn't the right title. This is just a screenshot from a different test, but they'll get a confirmation number that looks like this. We're asking them for them to enter it here. If they don't have it, they can contact the exams unit at nyct.com or call this phone number to receive their confirmation number. I believe this question also isn't mandatory, unlike other questions that have a red asterisk, which are mandatory in order to submit the form. This question, if they do leave it blank, the form will still be able to be submitted, whereas any other question that has a red asterisk next to it, they must fill out, like this one. The next question, you'll see, before we jump into the question, you'll see this, and this should look very familiar to you. This is a screenshot directly from the notice of exam, and not any old notice of exam, the updated notice of exam that has the June 30th, 2023 education requirement deadline. So this will be reflected on the EETP on day 1 that you see it, whereas the rest of the notice still needs time to be updated. So this question is basically, all it's asking is, do you have full-time, do you meet any of these education or experience requirements? So if your students will graduate by June 30th, 2023 in either number 2 or number 3, they should click yes. If the answer is no, they should click no. The next question is, which of the following best describes your qualifying work experience? A lot of this might not apply to your students. And so they'll go through this, they'll ask themselves, do I have 2 or more years of full-time satisfactory experience as a helper in the maintenance, repair, yada, yada, yada? No, I don't have that. Do I have less than 2 years of full-time satisfactory experience as a helper? That sounds kind of good, but then they should look at the next question, which is, I do not possess any qualifying experience as a helper in the maintenance, repair, testing, construction, or installation of electrical. So this is the one that's probably going to apply to your students. That's okay. They're not qualifying through experience. They are qualifying through their education. So they shouldn't be scared that, oh no, I'm going to say I don't have any experience and the MTA is not going to hire me. That's fine. There are multiple avenues that they can be found qualified through. So they select no for that. Which of the following best describes your qualifying educational background? So graduation from a trade school or technical school totaling 600 hours in the electrical, electronic, electromechanical fields. I'm not going to go through every single one.
No.
But the second to last one is the one that's probably going to apply to them, is I am scheduled to graduate from one of the above programs by June 30th, 2023. So the second to last one is most likely the one they will select. But again, if you have alumni or other people who may be looking for this type of job, or really any of our jobs, which a lot of our education and experience test papers are on this, just they can be sent this, and they should understand that there should be an option for everyone, including those who have none of the qualifying degrees in the electrical, electronic, or electromechanical fields. Question number 7 is, what driver's license do you currently possess? So either they do or they don't. It's not required for the job, but they will need it by the time of appointment, I believe. So they don't need it to be qualified to take the exam, but eventually they will need it. So we're just looking to collect some data. This way, if we can sort through the data and see, okay, we hired 100 students who don't, or not students, candidates who do not have a regular driver's license. The list is going to be established in the next 6 months. Let's reach out to them, tell them, hey, you better go get your license or else you're not going to be able to be appointed to this job. We also asked them if they want to hear about other relevant job opportunities at the MTA. Yes or no, there's no obligation to. We asked them for their email address. I just have to fill this out in order to get to the next page. And what is your primary telephone number? 124. And then they're going to press next. And then this next page is going to take them to a page that's fully dedicated to those selective certifications. If they don't have any of this, I may have detected a mistake. I'm glad we're going through this now. Right now, they have to answer this. So for your students, it shouldn't be a problem because most of them do have education in one of these fields. So we're saying when meeting the education requirements now the qualified section on the notice of exam, you must have attended one of those specialized programs below to receive a selective certification. If you have a degree in one of these areas, please indicate. So depending on what area they're graduating from, they should select one. However, if they do not have experience in any of these, right now there does not seem to be an option to select that. So we are going to change that to either have a none of the above option or just not make it mandatory to fill out. And they'll go through the same, they'll be just really answering these pointed questions. Do they have experience in this, in any of these? So the same thing, they can click through. We'll change it to have a none of the above option by tomorrow morning. So I'm just gonna click one of these. And then commercial driver's license. Do you have a commercial driver's license? I do not have a commercial driver's license, and that's fine because they don't need a commercial driver's license yet. They won't ever need a commercial driver's license, I do not believe. Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's just jump, well, we can actually jump to the notice and take a look at the.
Oh, I have a notice here.
Yeah.
Sam, do you suggest that we wait until at least tomorrow morning when the application is updated before we have candidates apply? Since you have that, since you have that question.
I just want to take a closer look at, sometimes like you think you found a mistake and you make changes really quickly and then you realize there was a reason behind it. So I just want to confer with some of my colleagues. I could make the change right now and it's up to date, but everyone has left for the day more or less. I'd love to wait till like 8 a.m. tomorrow morning to confer with them. And I can either shoot Debbie an email that could pass along, or I could contact, I actually don't know who's talking to me right now. Is that Gav?
Oh, that's Gav.
Me. That's me, Gav.
Okay, fine. So yeah, I can contact.
How about we wait until Monday to encourage students to apply?
I'd love for students to be able to apply by this weekend if possible. So if for whatever reason it's not, if they can wait until we give you the flag to go ahead, that'd be great. If you don't hear from us, then I think Monday is a safe assumption. But I'm hoping to have a conversation with a couple people first thing tomorrow morning that by early afternoon, the latest, that we should have this settled.
Sam, one more thing. We needed clarity on something. So we do have some students where they're studying automotive repair and maintenance, and we have others that are doing heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Are those students eligible to take this particular exam also, or no?
That would fall within the closely related field subject line.
Automotive maintenance students and HVAC students, Sam?
I do believe so. Yes.
Okay.
I'll triple check that also.
Yeah, can we triple check that? Because honestly, I'm embarrassed to say that's news to me. So
yeah, we've historically only shared this exam with our CT electrical programs, but I mean, if the automotive kids and the HVAC kids are eligible, then we'd be more than happy to get some more applicants.
To me, both automotive and electrical would fall into, and HVAC would fall into the electromechanical closely related field. To me, I'm almost positive, but the fact that you're telling both Debbie and Gab, you're telling me that historically that hasn't been promoted. Perhaps there was a conversation that was had. So I do want to let me. I hope to get an answer for that to you by tonight, even.
It makes sense for me personally to have the HVAC and auto kids apply because there is a lot of overlap there.
Yeah.
So but
And-
I'll defer to you and your team.
Yeah, and I mean, and look, we've been doing this for a lot of years. I mean, things change. But Sam, once you know, let us know, and then I
Yeah.
can communicate that to Gav and to Lincoln Tech as well, and to BOCES. You know, we may just have kind of kept the automotive maintenance folks for the buses population. That could be part of the reason.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Maybe there were
that we
conversations
promote
above my
this,
pay
but
grade.
if they qualify, they should be aware.
Yeah.
Okay,
So then, just to jump back to the end of it, you're done. I'm not gonna,
done.
I'm gonna click next just because I'm gonna click next. We'll see what happens. This is just if they have education. Sorry, experience, not education. This last part is about their employment and education history. So we want to know the name of their institution that they went to. So read this carefully in the section. Please follow the instructions of each carefully. Be specific. And what we're asking here is please list all of your qualifying educational and all the qualifying educational institutions in the format below at as many qualifying institutions as needed. So what we're pretty much asking them to do is fill out the answers to these questions. The name of the institution. So, you know, CT school number 16, the phone number to the institution. If they've only have one, all we're asking them is they could copy and paste this to make it easier on them. They could write it in. They could just write the institution name and the phone number. They don't have to write name of institution : you know, CT school 3. Phone number is 71856. And if they have multiple, if they're graduated from multiple places, they can enter as many as apply. But at least they do need to have at least one. And then here's please list the names and phone numbers of all the employers that you had acquired qualifying helper experience. So if you had students who are working at Wendy's, or you have students who are working, you know, as a party planner, they do not need to enter their work experience here, only qualifying experience. If they have experience that, you know, they worked at their uncle's auto shop, because I am leaning on that automotive technology does qualify. If they worked at their uncle's automotive shop, that is qualifying experience. So we'd love to hear more about it. We want them to, again, copy and paste this info into the dialog box here, or just enter it. So what is the name of the employer? What's their phone number? There's 4 here. They don't need to have 4 employers. So if they only had 1 employer, they would just have 1. They have 2, they can enter 2, and so on. So I'm not going to press submit because I'm going to get not qualified if I do submit this like this. But your students would press submit. If there are no errors, we'll just submit it and I'll delete it automatically. So I'm going to press submit.
Yes, press submit, and then you see that they can see what happens, right?
You
So,
can see the thanks. We are
Right.
very appreciative.
Thanks.
That's a big font with an exclamation point. You can see how appreciative we are that you did submit. And if for whatever reason at this point you submitted it and you're like, oh shoot, I didn't fill out an application, go do that, because they need to fill out again the application and the education experience test paper, as well as the fee waiver document. That does it on my end. I apologize deeply because I did not ask, as Debbie begged me to, if anybody had questions at various intervals. So I just said a lot, but I'm here to answer any questions.
Sam, to be clear, the exam is completely multiple choice. This means that the candidates won't be tested on splicing wires or bending conduit or any of
None of
these.
that.
Purely
None of that.
practical, no.
And any questions that pertain to that, they'll be given the information to answer those questions. So somebody like me who has 0 technical background would have the same chance as somebody who's been studying this technology for 15 years. It's just applying the knowledge. So it's the same ability that we'd be testing for with a flavor of technical background. So we
Right.
could ask these same questions from a, you know, with grocery store examples, let's say a mathematical question. We could ask it from a, you know, Susan bought 16 watermelons and gave her friend 6, and, you know, that's how many watermelons does she have left? But in order to make sure that the test reflects, you know, the types of candidates that we're focusing on, and that it has something called face validity, the questions will have a flavor of the technical background. So instead of the watermelon example, it may be, you know, how many tools you have, or it may give you the equation for Ohm's law and say, okay, you know, voltage is this, amperage is this, what is the resistance? Because, and it's just applying the rules, not necessarily, regurgitating them or something that you learned in school.
A question that comes up often from many of our schools is, are there any study guides or any past examinations that a candidate can refer to prepare?
We officially do not recommend any specific studying guides. Your best tool to study is the notice of examination. It is difficult for an abilities-based test to tell people how to study. If there are just, this is my own personal opinion, like if there are any sort of like SAT study guides or anything like that available, just getting in that testing mindset. And you luckily you have students as your candidates, unlike some of our candidates for other jobs where they haven't taken a test in hundreds of years. So the whole test taking is foreign to them because they haven't done it in so long, or maybe they never did it. Whereas you have students who are in that test taking mode. So there's nothing really official I could recommend to study. I would say read the notice of exam clearly, carefully, look at that test section, which talks about the different abilities that we'll be testing for. But there's really nothing specific to do well, get a good night's sleep the night before, eat a good breakfast, and don't be too nervous.
And is it a timed exam?
It is a timed exam. I don't know the exact amount of time exactly because it really depends on the number of questions, which I don't have that information for you.
Which is why, Gav, if anyone needs an accommodation, a reasonable accommodation, they should click that portion on the exam, and then they will be, Jennifer, will they, the special, maybe we can bring that up, yeah.
I'm gonna bring it up right now.
Yeah, thank you, just to show, I didn't touch upon that in the interest of time. However, there is a page, what page is that on, Sam? Thanks
So if you go to page, on here is page 9, in the how to submit application, it talks about special test accommodations.
Okay. So use this link.
And then I think it would take you, I'm not sure exactly where this is going to take me. So there's a bunch of forms here. One of these forms should be the special accommodations form.
Okay, can we scroll down? General examination, no. Okay, forms, okay.
I don't like any of those.
No, me either.
Go back to the NOE.
I'm gonna go back. Within this package though, there's a bunch
Go
of
to
forms
the
at
bottom,
end.
yeah.
There's a bunch of forms at the back. It probably has one of them.
Yeah, the
If you go
special.
past the actual notice, which this is the very last page of the notice with all the white space. Nope, this is all I have on this one. It's weird because I had the.
No, go to the website. It's on
Is
the
it?
website.
But shouldn't it be in this application prompt? No.
No, not there. The one with the forms is on the actual website. We
So
never
if I go to like
added
MTA,
Yeah, new.mta. Okay,
it.
great. Okay.
There.
Yep, go there. All right, so educators, maybe what you might want to do is to print out this entire package, okay, from the website, and then you can go to page.
so this is the exam fee waiver request guide.
Doesn't apply to them.
But that does not apply to this group. But the
There you go.
special circumstances.
That's the one.
This is the form that you're going to want. It talks about
Right.
disability. So if your students require any sort of accommodation, extra time, a room with the lights off, with a lamp that just focuses on their test, the test to be read to them. I say all these things as real life examples. As long as they have the medical documentation to back it, we will make accommodations when we can.
But it says that they must notify if you have a disability which will interfere with your ability to take any test in this examination without a special accommodation, you must submit a written request for specific accommodation no later than 30 days before. So they have to really work on that now, creating a letter. I would do it right after they apply. This is all the information that must be on the letter, all these bullets. And then they have to submit the request.
I believe to send it to exams makeup.
Well, I think they should mail it in. What do you think?
I don't like mail, but I think Jenny does. So
right,
she's the
so
one
you
accepting these.
prefer
So
Jenny?
No, not really, not really. The students can just email it to us.
Okay, so they type a letter, they scan all their documentation, their IEP, or medical documentation, which is all required here, nature of the condition, duration of the condition, all that. They scan all that and email it to this email address?
Yes, that email. Yes.
So
correct.
are we saying that fee waivers need to be sent by snail mail, but the medical documentation needs to be sent through email? Is that what we're saying?
That's what we're
Correct.
saying. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
If it's
Sorry.
only one form, I think it's easier for everybody to submit it via email. But when you have a bulk that you have to scan first and then send it to us, and then we have to print everything, I think it's better to mail it to us. You have a lot of them.
So
like
she's talking about the letters, Gav. You know, Gav, maybe what I'll do is in the PowerPoint, we don't have a bullet about special accommodation. I'll update that and get it out to you by Monday, but it is
Okay.
in the actual document, okay? Our bad, I should have had that in the actual document.
Well, we do have something in the presentation, the last page, it says where to send the request. But yeah, that's fine, Debbie.
Okay, we'll update the PowerPoint presentation, Gab. Don't send that out today.
Okay.
I'll update that, but educators, please print out the full notice of examination from the website. I think that will help you to guide people, okay?
Any other questions?
Do we know when students will hear back, whether or not they've passed the exam?
Pass the exam?
No, whether, pass the exam or whether they
Yeah.
qualify for the
They
exam.
are going to get a letter once the list for the exam is established. That's when we actually tell them if they pass or fail the
Right.
test.
But I think thank you, Jennifer. I think he's asking, how long does it typically take for a transit electrical helper test to be scored and for the
Right.
results to come out?
Right.
Yeah, it really depends. We
Right.
typically use a 1-year timeline for, from when the application is submitted. It could be a little bit quicker. It could be a little bit longer. There's just a lot of steps and a lot of those steps are beyond transit, even things that go to DCAS, and
Right.
the Department of Citywide Administrative Services has to do some reconciliations with our files compared to their files. So it's a long process, and people shouldn't be discouraged because, hey, it's been 6 months, and we didn't get our results yet. It's just unfortunately the nature of the beast.
So
But it is
that-
a good job to have, it's a good opportunity to have for them to have in their back pocket. Right? So when they're called, if they're gainfully employed and they're not interested, that's all they have to say. But when they're called and they want to come in, they've got a great job with the MTA.
Right.
So we've had seniors that applied for this last year. Should we encourage them to apply again if they haven't heard back from MTA, or should this just be up to the individual whether or not it makes sense for them to reapply?
They should have, I'll tell you how I would answer that, and Sam, correct me if I'm wrong. If a list for transit electrical helper was just established, last year's list was just established, so they should, I can send you that number. If they haven't heard yet, since it won't cost them anything to apply for this, they are welcome to apply, and they don't have to take the test again if they get their list number before then, right? Does that make sense, Sam and Jennifer?
And for sure, if they failed, they should very much apply again, and they should not be discouraged. But yeah,
But
if
haven't
it
been
sounds like they
notified yet,
passed,
so-
they haven't been notified yet. I hesitate to tell people not to apply for another exam,
Okay.
especially if there's a fee waiver. It doesn't cost them anything.
Okay,
It could be they'll find out before the exam comes, they'll get some notification before they actually have to come and sit for the exam, and you don't have to show up. If you apply, nobody's coming to your house to say, hey, you applied for an exam, why aren't you here? There's no truant officers. But they, it doesn't hurt to apply again, just in case, maybe they
okay.
didn't send the education experience test paper last time, or they're missing something that might have disqualified them last time. It would make me sleep easier by telling them, it's in their best interest to apply again. But if they didn't, I don't think it would be the end of the world. But to me, it seems like it's just an easy step to take.
And does it make sense if we do have our auto and HVAC kids apply also, since there's no harm in them applying?
Yeah,
I mean, in
absolutely.
case we don't, yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, I hope to have an answer for you by tomorrow morning also.
yeah, okay. Tremaine, I saw that you typed something in the chat box. I wasn't clear what you were asking. You were asking if you applied before the fee waiver. You can feel free to unmute if you would like.
Oh, okay, maybe somebody's already applied. Is that what that pertains to?
I was asking for as we apply, when we apply for the, when we applied for the exam, we supposed to send the fee waiver first or after?
No, Jennifer, you want to take that? I think they apply first and the fee waiver is after they apply.
That is correct,
Okay.
Debbie. They just submit the application, complete the education experience form, and then submit the fee waiver.
Okay, so it won't be, so we gotta put our credit card information in, you saying?
No.
No.
You do not have to submit the payments. Just enter your information, register, complete the application, and do not pay.
Okay, okay,
Please do not pay.
all right.
Right, so the system, the online system allows you to press the submit button without paying. That's a really good question.
Correct.
Right.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah,
And
no,
you
no,
are
when
you are
they-
gonna get the
sometimes
confirmation number.
You go do the city jobs?
Was that a second part to the question? I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
Tremaine, did you have a follow-up question?
No, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry. No,
Okay.
That's okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from anyone?
This was a lot of information, but I think for those of you who've been doing this with the students for many years, you don't have to go through, they've got to list their tasks and the percentage of time that they did the task, and it has to add up to 100. So the new education and experience test paper is much easier this time around. Thank you, Sam and examinations team.
All right. So unless we have any other further questions, I'd like to thank Debbie, Jen, and Sam for your time today. A lot of information. We'll be looking forward to seeing the updated application and the updated slides. I'll be emailing that out to everyone that attended and registered for this meeting. And we look forward to seeing many of your young people get some new careers with transit. So thank you all so much for the work that you do. Take care.
Thank you, Gab.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Gab.
everyone.
Thank you, Jennifer, Sam. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, thank you.